up, everybody? Welcome to the Wood Shop. It's our inaugural episode.
Yes.
I'm co-host Chris Parker. It's my nephew.
Jean-Luc Parker.
And we brought this podcast together to talk about what a family office is and just about building wealth with families.
Amen. Amen. I mean, this is a blessing in and of itself. I mean, I never thought I'd be able to do a podcast of this nature with my uncle. Yeah. So this is lit. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I want to first off by saying this is not financial advice, but we're going to be talking about wealth building in the terms of what we do in building our wealth and just sharing that knowledge with everybody so that all of us can learn and, grow our wealth together for our families. So we're going to get it started here.
Yeah. So just telling y'all a little bit about who we are and how we got to this point. So I'll start here again, Jean-Luc Parker. And I went to school in Maine, actually. I'm from Texas. I went to school in Maine and played basketball during that duration. That was an experience in and of itself. Yeah. I won't go into detail, but it was a lot. It was a lot. I came back home to Texas and got a job actually with the Spurs, San Antonio Spurs. So I was doing sales for them, doing partnerships and ticket sales and such like that. And then, of course, COVID hit that industry really hard. People weren't going to games, obviously, because they were staying in their house. So the nature of the job in and of itself was iffy and was starting to kind of get convoluted. So I got into tech sales after that and was selling to Fortune 500 companies as the software. And then ultimately, family businesses started calling. So after that, this family office here with my father's side. Shout out to my father, Greg Parker, by the way, who's behind the camera, handling the behind the scenes stuff. But that was calling, as well as I managed a law firm with my mother on my mother's side. So definitely a blessing to be able to just handle and build family businesses from the ground up.
Both sides families got entrepreneurial spirits. Good. So for me, it was quite a long journey, but ever since I was early 20s, I've been a software engineer into the technology and that kind of thing, building apps, websites, all that kind of stuff, platforms. Then got into the management side of things, managing multi-million-dollar projects for companies and things like that. I always had that entrepreneurial bug, so me and Greg, his father, tried a few things. And, as we progressed, we got into investing, learning how to investing. And then we got into crypto. And that cryptocurrency and that, which was a natural fit for us because we were technology guys. So, got into crypto and then, started planning for that crypto, that investment future. And then one day you wake up and you're a multimillionaire and life changes. Instantly. Quick. So, with that instant change, thank God that he prepared us. We had a plan for wealth that immediately hit the family because it's like winning a lottery. And of course, if you don't know what to do with it, you end up like the lottery winners and go broke. That's not going to be our legacy because that's very important to us. So, and that's since we had the family office and everything came together, it all gelled together, and then we just started continually building that wealth. I will say it's probably easier to make wealth than it is to maintain it because everything is out. The market is out here to take your money. Everything's built to take the money. So protecting is a big thing, and that's Greg's job. And to tell everybody no, show he can protect it. But yeah, so that's kind of how we started. With the family office and the initial part of the wealth. And
you said something very, very important, I think, and I wanted to hit on it, Chris, just the maintaining of the wealth. And that's essentially the structure of the family office is to preserve and maintain it so that it can ultimately last generations. You mentioned how a lot of people get money quick, right? Fast, winning the lottery. And I don't know the statistics, but it's probably more than half of these individuals who do win the lottery, squander it, it's gone.
Within 3 years. Within 3
years, So just that ability and that mindset to preserve the wealth is ultimately one of the things that a family office instills in those people.
And learning how to buy assets.
Exactly.
That's my thing, because everybody wants to buy liabilities. You want to buy that fancy car and that kind of thing, and so everybody's buying liabilities. You got to learn how to buy assets, and you got to learn how to say no to yourself. Say no to everybody else. You know, once you get money,
say no to yourself.
Everybody comes at you. You know, it's almost to the point where you want everybody to believe that you're broke, so you're not getting people at you.
So we have a few things that we'll talk about here today on this first episode. So the first one I want to ask you, Chris, define a family office. What is it?
So I'm gonna give you the definition. I got that written here. I'm gonna give you the definition, and then we're gonna talk about that definition because we don't fully believe in that definition. But so the technical definition of what a family office is: a family office is a private wealth management advisory firm that serves ultra high net worth individuals. Family offices are different from traditional wealth management shops in that they offer a total solution to manage an affluent individual's financial and investment needs. For example, many family offices offer financial planning, investment management, budgeting, insurance, charitable giving, wealth transfer planning, tax services, concierge services, and more. So the part that we don't agree with are ultra high net worth individuals. We believe it's for everybody, whether you got $2, $200,000, $2 million, or $20 billion. Everybody can have a family office because it's about that mindset, changing that mindset to build wealth for your family that will last for generations. That's what it's all about. And you got to start somewhere. So everybody that was, rich at some point in time that either didn't get it from divorce or from inheritance, they had to build it. So you had to start somewhere. And so why not start when you only got $2
exactly,
or $2,000 and just build that mindset and allow your family to build that with you, and and everybody grows together. So that's that's the only part of it that we disagree with. And moving forward, we want to make sure that, with this podcast, we're teaching everybody who only got 2 nickels to rub together and how to start building wealth. Right,
exactly. And I think that ties into this next part here, just the differences between the single family office and a multi-family office. You mentioned that a family office doesn't necessarily have to be a super affluent, crazy, billion-dollar family. It could just be that regular, not necessarily regular, but that family that just has this perspective on building generational wealth with however much money they do have, right? So when we're talking about a single family office, this is one single family that has this mindset and is moving in this direction of creating LLCs or has LLCs, has maybe 1 or 2 businesses that they have put together to formulate this organization that is a family office. And then of course the multi-family office is going to be one that has multiple of these families together. And they're ultimately doing business together. So they're having these types of business meetings together. They're putting their resources together to invest in different assets together in there. They're ultimately building this type of legacy as one, but different families, if this makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you need a family office? So what does that look like?
I think everybody that wants to build wealth needs a family office.
Okay.
You need that central place, that central entity that's going to serve as that one place where everybody comes together to build that wealth. Regardless if it's cousins, mothers, sons, brothers, sisters, whatever, everybody is collectively on one page under this one entity that's going to serve the whole of the family for generations. So once you start your wealth journey, building a family office should be your primary objective.
Right.
And in later episodes we'll get into like tax advantages and different things like that. But when we're talking about inheritance, so when Greg and I die, we don't want you and Cacho getting hit with 42% inheritance tax and all that kind of stuff. So there's legal ways, and should always be legal. Let's say that should always be legal. There's legal ways to pass along assets without having to pay taxes on those, and draining that. And also we'll get into insurance and how insurance is for the living, and how you can make money off of insurance. and then upon your death, infuse your family office with a bunch of cash that you're not paying a lot of taxes on to the family office. So you're ultimately benefiting your family for generations without paying a bunch of tax on it, without other people getting their hands in it. So yeah, everybody should have a family office once you make that decision, whether it's just you as a single person or as a family collective. Once you make that decision that we're going to build wealth, start that family office.
Yeah, and there's another thing too that I wanted to second with that. You know, this society has made it so that everybody is individual and like everybody is thinking for themselves. It's like an individualistic type of society. Like, I have to get mine. I don't really care about nobody else. I'm all for me. And the family office puts that on its head.
Right, it's the opposite.
It's the exact opposite. Like, I'm doing this not even for me. I'm doing this for my children. You said it when we were doing our run through. You know, that it's not for me. It's for my children. It's for your children's children. So, again, when we're talking about the family office, it's a mind shift. It's a perspective that changes so that it's not for my doing. I'm not building this wealth so that I can go buy. And then you said yesterday that Bugatti,
right?
Or that Maserati, or to go out.
Like Maseratis.
To go out and club and do all this nonsense. No, I'm building this wealth so that my family can be secure and be good. And then of course we'll talk a little bit more about what we're using this money for later on, and even in this episode, but other episodes. But it's not for you at the end of the day.
Right.
It's for
the next generation.
The next generation. So. That gets us into why do family offices exist?
Well, we kind of touched on that already, but yeah, family offices exist to pass along that wealth, to manage it, pass it along, and also just for your family to benefit with everything that you're building. You want your family to be able to benefit that. Some family offices, every family office tends to have their own insurance. We got our own insurance. And it's kind of company insurance, but some go even further. As you start to move up and building that wealth, some ultra high wealth individuals, they'll have concierge health. So the doctor comes to their house. They don't have to go in a lot of times. The doctor goes to their house, or they make a phone call and say, "Hey, I got the sniffles." They do a prescription. They go pick it up. It's that kind of thing. Doctors will travel with them at times. They're going on business trips or even on vacations. They jump in a private jet. The doctor sometimes goes with them, and they take their whole family. So and that's part of the concierge services and stuff like that. You also get that additional benefit of, like, we have sub companies. So we got logistics company. And the logistics company owns the vehicles. You got different real estate owns the properties and that kind of thing, and you kind of separate the interest in the different companies, which protects your liability, but it also allows the family to be involved, and that involvement, that legal involvement, kind of it puts them under that protection. So it gives your whole family a blanket of protection.
That's good.
So
That's
yeah.
good. That's good. So we got protection, not only of the assets, but of the family itself.
Family of itself. Yeah, exactly.
We also have.
You got the tax
advantages.
The tax advantages,
one of the reasons why they exist.
As you want to learn in another episode, the tax advantages are going to be huge. The more money you make, the more taxes they're going to come from, and that's taking more money away from your family and future generations. That's very important.
Yeah, preserving of the wealth.
That's the ultimate goal.
To leave a legacy. Ultimately, it's one of the reasons why they exist, and we got examples of this just within history.
Yeah.
We're talking about Rockefellers.
Yeah.
Who within the industrial age, made boatloads of amount of money.
Yep.
And wanted to preserve it, wanted to keep it within his family, and he created the family office.
Yep.
And I don't know, what was that book that we read?
What would the Rockefellers do?
Yeah, what would the Rockefellers
so we're not promoting the book, but it's a great book to help change your mindset into, what Rockefellers considered the inventor or the father of the family office, and he had mastered what's like what would be equivalent to like 500 million a day, which back in the 1890s is an ungodly amount of money. Like nobody ever thought somebody would make that kind of money at that point. And so in doing so, he wanted to preserve his wealth for his family and have his family benefit for generations. Over 120 individuals, over 100 years later, that are still eating off that same money, which is the opposite of what the Vanderbilts did.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be the Vanderbilts, you want to be the Rockefellers.
And also too, last thing regarding why they exist. From a historical standpoint, we're looking at kingdoms, right? We're looking at empires and just reigns of individuals and just royalty. At the end of the day, we're talking about like the British or the Roman Empire, and just a succession of leadership and what's the word I'm looking for? Of power. Ultimately, it stays within the family.
Yep. And
you see that throughout generations, like within the British kingdom, like the king, the queen is from the line at the end of the day. So it's not only just wealth, but it's also lifestyle. It's also culture. It's also preserving of the precepts and the morality and the ethics of that family from generation to generation to generation.
Yes. And teaching the kids those things each generation so that they continue along. That's part of the protect. That's part of the thing that somebody within your family office, the matriarch, is going to do. And for us, it's great. And that protection doesn't just mean saying no. It means saying no, here's why, and I'm going to teach you why this no is important.
Right.
Not just saying no. So you're not creating trust fund babies. You want to create individuals that are going to take those same family values, moving forward when it's their turn to take over the reign, and you know that their stewardship is going to be right. You know, when you're out there with the sheep and you being the shepherd, I'm handing you the stick, now it's your turn, but then you just sitting back and laying in the meadow and letting the sheep run wild, and then they run out of the fence. Now they're getting ate up by the wolves. See what I'm saying? So I didn't teach you properly. Right. So in my sense, I got to teach my son that. And it's part of my job teaching you that too. It's mainly falls on Greg, but it's all of us to teach the next generation to properly steward the ship, because we ain't gonna be around forever. In fact, I still want to be alive and not be around, because at some point I just want to move somewhere like Costa Rica and
it was nice
just make sure my checks don't stop when they hit the bank account.
That was a nice place when we went.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, it's my favorite vacation that we had so far.
That was the favorite one?
That's my favorite that we've had a family vacation.
Bahamas was lit.
Bahamas was lit. I did like it. Just Costa Rica, but Greg and Tasha, they like Belize the most.
They like Belize.
Belize was cool, but it wasn't Costa Rica.
So let's get back on topic here. You were talking about stewardship, and this goes right into this next topic that we're talking about. Just the biblical aspect of preserving wealth and family offices, and how it all kind of comes together from a God perspective, right?
Right.
Of course, in the Bible, it doesn't explicitly mention the modern concept of the family office and what we're specifically speaking towards, but it does offer numerous principles on wealth management, stewardship, and the ethic use of resources that inform such practices. So, for example, divine source of wealth, right? So it emphasizes that all wealth originates from the Lord. So this, again, we're talking about changing our perspective. Like, everything that one has, past, present, and future, is ultimately because of the Lord. The Lord gave that to you for you to steward it. So for you to ultimately bring about his purposes with what he has given you.
Right.
So within the family office, this is essentially what we are doing. We are seeing that, he has given us this ability to accumulate wealth. He has given us the ability to have multiple different businesses such as X, Y, and Z. Let's use it for the purposes of God at the end of the day, because ultimately it's his. We're stewarding it. So Deuteronomy 8:18 says, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth."
That's good.
That's just reiterating again, it's not you, it's the Lord who is giving you this wealth, giving you this ability to obtain it. Secondly, of course, stewardship and responsibility. Believers are called to manage the resources wisely, recognizing them as entrusted by God. And Proverbs 21:20 advises that The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. So you said something that has been so good, saying no to yourself.
Yeah.
The Bible calls us to deny ourselves, right, and crucify our flesh. Now I'm going a little deep into it, but at the end of the day, this is the responsibility that God has called us to do in order for us to steward what He has given us properly. If one can't say no to themselves, then boom, this money that you making, gone, quit.
That's how a lot of your runners lose it.
Exactly.
Not saying no, you just
can't say no. But when you're able to, again, steward what it is that He's giving you properly, then you're able to move in the way that the family office ultimately wants, or ultimately it's supposed to be moved in a way, if this makes sense. And then lastly was the inheritance. So a good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of a sinner is laid up for the just. This is Proverbs 13:22. So reiterating again, this isn't for us even. You know what I'm saying? We're not making these moves and making these decisions, and even this podcast for, well, it could be for us indirectly, but it's more for you guys who are watching this, as well as our children's children, and then of course that preserving of that wealth as well. So
I mean, that's what a family office is, preserving that wealth. And like we said before, it's not for us, it's for your children's children. So it's right there written, we're building this for them, like we're supposed to. And it's just our turn to steward it.
Exactly.
We are the first ones, so we are the ones burdened with the building part of it, which is a difficult part. Building wealth is difficult. But future generations, and why you're building it, it's on them to sustain it and grow it. I mean, obviously you want them to continue to grow, but that first initial build, that foundation, drilling those pipes down into the ground and setting up that foundation, it's time consuming, it's hard, and that's why a lot of people don't do it, because it's a very difficult thing.
Right.
But you have to do it. If you want your children, we want our children's children to be able to go to college debt free and not come out. Imagine what it is now. It's on an average of almost $400,000 a year just to go to college, especially an Ivy League type of college. And if you want your children to have that lineage, imagine what it's going to be in 20 years. How much it's going to cost. In 20 years, it's going to probably be $750,000 just to go to a higher up college. That means the lower end colleges are going to be $400,000 or $500,000. And it's like, wow, just for that education, I'm going to have to pay $500,000. Well, that's a lot of debt to saddle a 22-year-old is straight out of college, and they want their money. So, you want to be able to have them go to college for free.
Right.
You want them to be able to come to you with a business idea, and you say, okay, I can fund that, but you're going to have to bring a plan. And that's one of the things that the Rockefeller book also will teach you. Make sure that they have skin in the game. You teach them. You don't just say yes. So they come and say, Dad, I want to start a car lot. I need $5 million. And then that's just the conversation. Okay, and write a check and runs off. Well, if he loses the $5 million, it doesn't matter to him. One, he didn't have to earn it, had to fight for it, and then two, you didn't even have to. You didn't make him even prove that he should have that $5 million. So he just goes and blow it. That's when you create that trust fund baby type of mentality. No, you're gonna bring me a business plan. You're gonna outline how it's gonna make money, just like anybody else will come to you. Just because you family, I love you. So you automatically have the protection of the family and the family office, but we're just not freely giving you money.
That's good. And we'll definitely dive deeper into that in these later episodes. But one of the last questions before we end this and wrap this up was what I wanted to ask you, Chris, is, how do you even get started? You know what I'm saying? What does that process look like as far as like creating LLCs and getting everything formatted?
Some people hire lawyers. Some people go to LegalZoom. LegalZoom was started by lawyers, so it's still lawyers involved. You want to get a lawyer involved in some way, fashion, or form, because you want to set it up properly. What we did, or I would say what Greg did, because he's the paperwork guy of our family office. He set it up. It's an LLC, but it's a designation as an S corp. So, because if you just do straight LLC like partnership, it's going to run through your personal credit, and you don't want that. You want the entity standing on its own. It's going to have its own credit, and all of it's just like a person, because a company has an EIN, which is equivalent to a person with a social security number in this country. In other countries, I'm sure they have some form of tax ID type of situation. But this, has its own entity, and you want it to be able to stand on its own, so that you're not personally sued or anything and liable for something that happens in one of your companies to get started. So you're protecting your own self. And then the last thing I will say, the phrase that we live by for our family office and just kind of in general, you want to own nothing but control everything. And that is very important. And what that really means is your family offices, your businesses own all the assets, but you control the businesses. So someone like Matthew Perry recently died, great actor. His trust owned everything. His trust owned his royalties for friends and everything like that. So, and that's where you want it to be. You want that entity, because then that means that transfer of power and wealth is seamless. And I don't need to personally own anything. How the real estate company can own the houses, logistics company can own the cars and all that kind of stuff. I drive them, I use them for business, or I live in it, whatever. I don't need to own it, I just need to control it. So get in that mindset, and that's kind of what we live by.
That's good. Well, appreciate y'all for stopping by again. This is the inaugural first episode of the Wood Shop.
We're gonna get it deeper.
So we're gonna go deeper. So excited for this. Hope y'all are taking notes, taking heed, for individuals who are entrepreneurs and just seeking to acquire wealth, and again, not for yourself, but for your children's children. So thank y'all again, and hope you have a blessed day.
Yep, appreciate you guys.
3, 2, 1, let's go.